All right, so we have a lot to talk about today, guys. Welcome to my Geek Rant. Today I'll be reviewing Darth Vader, Marvel's Darth Vader #1. I did the Star Wars comics about a week ago, so there's different series going on. One of them is the Star Wars continuity for the comics, and then it's the Darth Vader continuity, which I'm going to be doing today, and then there's going to be a a Princess Leia coming out in March. But yes, let's get into this comic. It was first off, let me just say that it was a pretty good comic. It was very solid. I've always enjoyed Darth Vader as a character, and I'm glad to see that he was not only respected in this comic, but he was also shown in a very realistic light, if that makes sense. But starting from the beginning, there was a really great juxtaposition between how Luke and Vader both dealt with Jabba the Hutt. And we see that, when Luke in Return of the Jedi was dealing with the guards, he did like a little force choke to like make them part away. Vader, he doesn't play games. He just straight up like slices them in half, which is like completely the right thing to do, because Vader wouldn't take any time to do a Jedi mind trick, which does come up later. The fact that he doesn't do Jedi mind tricks at all. He doesn't play that way. Same with when he was talking to the advisor, Luke, he does a mind trick on him to make him go talk to Jabba. But for Vader, he just turns on his lightsaber and is like, show me to Jabba, like I'm not playing around right now. Which is great. And he even gets insulted at one point because Jabba even calls him a Jedi. He's like, "Oh, you Jedi," and then Vader's like, "No, I'm not a Jedi. I use the dark side. I'm not using Jedi mind tricks on you. I use the Force. I use not the Force, but he uses Force to get what he wants." And I thought, if this comic is going to be like that, they're going to show how far gone Anakin Skywalker is now as Darth Vader. I think they're going in the right direction so far. They've nailed it on the head so far. So yeah, that whole first sequence with Jabba's palace was really well done. It really showed how ruthless Vader is. It shows him how powerful he is and how respected he is, even between like the criminal underworld. Like to the point where at the end of the exchange, he actually force chokes Jabba the Hutt and doesn't just get instantly killed. Like, he's powerful enough to just do that and like walk away from it. This comic makes a special note on how badass Vader is, except for when it comes to the Emperor, which I think that is so great. I even liked, I really love the exchanges between Vader and Sidious. I think it's very interesting, or it could be very interesting and compelling. We don't really have much of it yet in the Legends canon, but we are going to get a bunch of it. We already got it in Tarkin. If you guys read the novel Tarkin by James Luceno, there's a few exchanges between Vader and Sidious, which was probably actually my like favorite part of the that part of the book. Like, if Vader is this huge badass and Sidious like has complete control over him, like he can he's the only one who can like say a snide remark to Vader and just not like instantly get choked out. And that just really showcases how powerful Sidious is, to the point where this person, this Dark Lord who was almost responsible for killing off all the Jedi, save for Yoda and now Luke, I guess, he can be told off by Darth Sidious, and it just shows that Vader doesn't even think of challenging him without the aid of Luke, which is what he's trying to do now, which is the lead into the kind of the storyline of this comic book series. But yeah, I'm really looking forward. I really like this little exchange that was in this comic book, and if there will be any more exchanges with Sidious and Vader, especially when Vader realizes that Luke is his son, especially on that front. But yeah, there's also another novel coming out called Lords of the Sith, written by Paul S. Kemp. Also looking forward to that too, because I'm very, very interested in just a Dark Lord dichotomy, like how an apprentice master relationship works. We got a little bit of it and Rule of Two and Dynasty of Evil, but I really want to see it, especially between Sidious and Vader, because that's a very big thing right there. Like, you have the Chosen One, who is basically like the traitor of the Jedi, and like this completely, like, if Vader is evil and soulless and all that, Sidious is just as Dooku described him in the Revenge of the Sith novelization. He's a black hole in the Force. Like, he's that evil. There's also another carryover from the Tarkin novel. We know that Sidious was using the Jedi Temple as his base of operations, which I don't believe was ever established before. I think it was hinted at in the Legends canon, but now since the Tarkin novel, it's main canon now that he's using that as his stronghold. And in the comic, we see that again, that they're walking amongst the halls of the Jedi Temple while he's giving him an assignment. one of the, I forget the guy's name, but one of the Imperial agents that the one that Vader force chokes in A New Hope, he's actually taking order of the new Death Star too. He's like, that's the storyline that they're gonna go with. And there's also some crazy character with like this eye thing going on. I think they're gonna establish that soon too. I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, like that was interesting to see that you know, Sidious is like tarnishing the Jedi name by using the Sith's proceedings in their temple. But yeah, I can already see the workings of Vader's mind and how he's going to want to capture Luke and how he wants to turn him to the dark side, especially because he's keeping that information away from Sidious. He's not telling him, he's saying, hey, this kid, he had my lightsaber, he had Anakin's lightsaber, what's that about? Do I have kids? Like, did you know about this? Like, that's really going to be, when that comes to a head, or however that shows up, I think it'll be interesting to see how that goes about. But we can already see that Vader's putting the dots together. He's going to find out what's going on. He's going to have this, you know, this mission to bring Luke, you know, together with him and rule the galaxy, you know, take over Sidious. Going on a bit of a tangent here, well, not really a tangent because this is a comic book, so I should review the artistry of it, but I actually really enjoyed the artwork in this comic. It was a lot better than I'm not saying the first comic was bad, like the Star Wars series comic, the first ones I've been reviewing, but this one, I don't know, it's more gritty. The expressions are very direct, and I don't know, they work very well, and the composition of the shots, the panels are very good. They're very cinematic, and I don't know, I just really like it. I think the color palette is really nice, and maybe it's because it's Vader, so that the artist is inherently more gritty, and maybe just grittiness works for a comic book a little bit better. But I don't know, I definitely prefer this artwork to anything we've seen so far in the main canon, and that includes Son of Dathomir and the Star Wars comics. But yeah, that's probably the one that shocked me the most, especially the stuff with Luke, because they actually do scenes from the Star Wars book, the Star Wars comic book that already came out, and they did the same exact scenes, but I felt I liked the artistry in this one better than in the original comic. So the comic ends off with Vader hiring Boba Fett to find Luke and the rebels, which actually kind of overwrites a few things, including the Force Unleashed and the previous battles that Darth Vader and Boba Fett had together, because in the Legends canon, Boba Fett and Darth Vader have fought before, to the point where there's even like a myth, or part of the canon is that the indent that we see on Vader's helmet was actually a blaster shot from Boba. But yeah, in this comic, they seem to be meeting each other for the first time. Like when Boba Fett comes, he's like, "Hey, are you the client?" And Vader's like, "Yeah, that's me. I want you to find Luke." So it's like, oh, this is the first time they met. So all that previous stuff of them knowing each other, like from the Force Unleashed 2, where Boba Fett was tracking down Starkiller, and their fights that they had before are all de-canon. So like that kind of shows, I guess, well, in another way too, they're kind of making it tied to the original holiday special, which is the first time we ever saw Boba Fett. He is looking for the rebels in the holiday special, so they're tying it to some things but not others. I mean, that's how it's going to go now. I think when we get more stories coming out, we're going to see that some things are just going to make it into canon and some aren't. So that's just how that goes. So that was just one little thing I was thinking about. But we are going to see more Boba Fett in the comic series, and I'm sure maybe in the Star Wars comic we'll see some sort of confrontation between Luke and Boba Fett, because eventually they're going to have to find out, because Vader right now does not even know what Luke's name is. He just calls him the rebel that blew up the Death Star, and he is in league with the Millennium Falcon, and that's pretty much all the information that Boba has to go off of. But that, I'm going to be interested to see how that plays out, because it should be pretty awesome. All right, let me stop ranting. The comic was very good. The only criticism I might have of it is that it's not really a self-contained story. It feels more like a continuation rather than a start. Like if you've not, I was assuming that since this is Darth Vader #1, it would be more of like a, not really an origin story, but at least, you know, if someone just picked this up in the comic book store, they can get right into it. But if you don't really have any previous Star Wars knowledge, like at all, not really going to be the best thing for you to start with. I definitely recommend it to anybody who does have any kind of, you know, knowledge of Star Wars, even a little bit. You'll be fine to read this. But if, you know, as a standalone comic, especially as a #1, I don't think it established itself that well. It was definitely feeling like it was continuing from a previous comic, which it is. It's establishing itself from the movie, so it works in that regard. But yeah, it wasn't that self-contained. Like even the first Star Wars comic, the Star Wars #1, even that felt like it started. It felt like we were getting introduced to Han, Leia, Luke. We're getting reintroduced. This one, a little bit more not as well handled, but not bad. Like the comic itself is really good. Like I said, I really love the dynamic of Vader and Sidious, and just how we're getting into the mind of Vader to the point where at the end of the comic, there is a final panel, and we see that of course, Vader is on Tatooine because he's going to meet with Jabba, and when he's there, he actually is in the center of a death bed of Tusken Raiders. So we can see that he has not gotten over the fact that those Tusken Raiders killed his mother, and it just really shows how twisted and evil and far gone Anakin Skywalker is. Like, he is now Vader. He's about the dark side. He doesn't care. He doesn't care anymore. It's really good that we get to see that, though, is that this character is really gone, which really makes his redemption in Return of the Jedi, if you read this comic and then look at the movie, mean much more, because it seems like it's an impossible task, because this guy is so far gone from what he used to be as a caring, loving Jedi Knight, and now he's this psychopath Sith Lord. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna stop talking. I enjoyed the comic. I recommend it. I suggest you guys read it. It's a very good read. It's definitely my favorite main canon material so far of everything that we've had. Maybe even my favorite period. I don't know. It's too early to say if it's my favorite period, but so far, so good. So that's it, guys. Of course, peace, love, and may the Force be with you always.
They both held immense power with their use of the Force, Yoda as the avatar of light, Bane as the nexus of the dark.
No, why are you mowing your lawn right now? I'm recording a Let's Play. Between Vader and Sidious, which I think, is that burning? No, it's not.